morning from Beijing and good evening to the Latin America friend. I'm sorry, my Spanish is not good enough. I'm just a beginner, so I have to present the idea in English. I hope that I could have an opportunity to visit Costa Rica in the near future and improve my Spanish there. So I will share my slide and you can see it. All right, right here.
Yes, we can see it.
Sure. Oh, all right, you can see it. So the topic I got is a China dual circulation prospect for Latin America and the Caribbean region. As Ciclo has already introduced, I'm with the School of International Study. So my disciplinary background is a political science. However, this topic very relevant to economy. So I try my best to introduce what does a dual circulation means and how does it will impact China-Latin America relation in the following. So the first is a China dual circulation strategy. I think this is a very new economic framework for China future development. To understand the dual circulation strategy, we need to know that in 2015, China Premier Li Keqiang put forward a new concept that is a China intern into a stage of new normal. The new normal means that China economy will not grow in a two-digit speed as it did in the last 3 decades. Particularly last 2 decades. So because of the economy of China is gradually slowed down due to several reasons. China economy very much rely on the international market, and we export a lot of commodity to the international market. However, the economy is gradually slow down due to the low demand after the global economic finances, and also because of the uncertainties on the international stage, particularly from the U.S. and some of the Western countries. In general, the dual circulation strategy is a strategy to reorient China economy by prioritizing domestic consumption, which means internal circulation, while remaining open to international trade and investment. That is external circulation. I read some articles and the interpretation. Some argue that China will close its door to the international market. I would like to see that is not true. The dual circulation strategy, it means that China will combine domestic consumption with the international exportation together. So this is very important. They are equally important for China. As you know, China is a very huge country in terms of population. We have 1.4 billion population. So for those who has been to China, you know that China, we have 35 provinces, and all those provinces has a large population. For example, I come from north of China. I was not born in Beijing. I came from Shandong province. In my hometown, the population is about 100 million. That make my hometown province became even a larger country than those countries in Europe or countries in Latin America. So they have a very huge potential for consumption. The per capita GDP of China in last year is 12,500 US dollar. So considering the steady growth of China economy, I think there is a huge potential for China to uh, take advantage of its big middle class in order to consume the commodity produced by China. So the dual circulation strategy is a key priority in China 14th 5 year plan. We have a fifth years planning in China in every 5 year. So in the coming years, the dual circulation strategy will be a priority. The dual circulation strategy aims to shield China from global volatility and pivot the Chinese economy towards great self-reliance. If you read the Chinese history, you will know that the founder of China, the People's Republic of China, Mao Zedong, he always insisted self-reliance, that China should not depend on any given country. China should not depend on the Soviet Union, should not depend on the United States in terms of economical development and also in terms of the foreign policy. We have always have an independent policy, and China always insists that China is a country with an independent policy that will not impacted by any other country. You can see even in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, that China has all position stance that are different from others. The dual circulation doesn't mean China will isolate itself from the rest of the world. Instead, China will welcome foreign investment, negotiate more free trade agreement, and take advantage of the free zones and the port. There's a look at right side of the slide. You can see a graphic. So internal circulation is will emphasize increase the role of consumer. Right now we have a 400 million of middle class population, and in the coming decade or 2 decades, we will have we will double the size of the middle class. That means we will have a 800 million middle class. And also technology advancement. China put forward a Made in China 2025 plan in 2015. And because of the pressure from the US and because of the technology decoupling the China-US, so China right now prioritize the innovation, technology innovation industry. So many other frontier technology right now are in incubation in China. Most important is, I think, is the semiconductor or the microchip. If you follow Chinese news closely, and you will notice that China put a lot of investment in the semiconductor industry, and also the high-end manufacturing and the service. China is the largest manufacturing country in the world, and in terms of the manufacturing value, China has exceed or surpass the US, Germany, and also Japan, 3 countries combined. And the green circle, you can see the external circulation or the international circulation. China will continue implement the Belt and Road Initiative, where Latin America is a very important block, and also to push forward economical reform and economical liberalization. this year you can see that China has unveiled a progressive, ambitious plan to foreign capital, and foreign capital they can invest it. They can set up their company, capital company in China, and to invest in China's stock market, and also they can run, commercial bank or the insurance company in China. So the capital account of China is become more open. Previous time that China opened to the trade account, but not to the capital account, and also the internationalization of the renminbi. In general, compared to the US dollar, renminbi is much weaker. But in the last 2 years, and China introduced its own currency transaction system, that is the CIPS, CIPS. That right now more than 40 countries has joined the CIPS, and I think the CIPS is an alternative to the SWIFT system, because the outbreak of the Russia Ukraine conflict, Russia has been pushed out of the SWIFT transaction system. I think China and many other countries, they have a barrier that in the future there's a risk of imposed harsh sanction by the United States. So country like Saudi Arabia, and they accept China to use the renminbi to import Saudi's oil. I think this is quite a big step for the internationalization of the renminbi. So in the meanwhile, there's a coastal inland dichotomy in China. That means China can roughly divide it into the coastal area and the inland area. So for the inland area, their economical growth is slower than the coastal area. So if you're looking back China history, in last decade, China's leadership, central government has repeatedly emphasized the importance of the West exploration. The West exploration is meant to introduce or guide the capital human resources from the east to the west part of China, to the hinterland, in order to make the hinterland of China become more prosperous. So the consumer there, or the household, or the people there, and their income is lower than the coastal area, and also the industrialization is slower. So if China can successfully, push forward their industrialization process on the hinterland, I think a lot of people will have a better life, and they are capable to buy more consumption commodities from China. That could be a new drive for China economical growth. And also with the launch of the RCEP in January this year, China also have surpassed the US as a leader of the world's largest free trade bloc. There's quite a lot of countries in the Asia Pacific members of the RCEP, including Japan, South Korea, Australia, and ASEAN countries. So this is quite a big step for China's regional economic integration. The rationale for China's dual circulation strategy is that the change of the domestic environment and international environment. China believes the world is undergoing profound change unseen in a century or in centuries. As you can read from China China's President Xi Jinping, and he always quote this remark: "Profound change unseen in century, amid the fluctuation in the existing international order and balanced power." If you look at the economical data, you will see that last year, China, GDP reached 17.7 trillion US dollar. The US GDP is about 24 trillion US dollar. That means China total GDP account for 77% of the US GDP, compared to the Soviet Union in the 1980 and Japan in the 1990. I think China is the country that much closer to the U.S. economy compared with the previous two. So that makes the U.S. Very anxious, and they are worried that China will overtake the U.S. become the largest economy in 10 years. I think that's very likely. It's worth noting that China surpassed Japan in 2009, and gradually China economy become 3 times or the size of Japan in last year, in 2021. So now China economy, I don't think Japan has a idea or to retake China and to surpass China again. So that is a mission impossible. President Xi said, and to tighten international production chain dependence on China. That because it's a natural reaction to the U.S. pressure, and the U.S. want to disengage China production chain from, at least from the region, from Asian Pacific. And Joe Biden, or the president of the United States, visited Asia in May, and he put forward the Indo-Pacific economical framework. If you look at the detail of those framework, you will find he tried to integrate the Asia Pacific economy to the U.S. economy. That means to disengage with the Chinese economy. So China should forming a powerful countermeasure and a deterrence capacity against the foreigner who would artificially cut off supply to China. I think that means the United States. China middle class currently number is 40 million, and is expected to grow by additional 400 million by 2030. The size of the middle class will double. If you combine the EU and the US population together, I think that is almost 1 billion. Yeah, it's around 1 billion. And if you combine with the Australia, Canada, Japan, Korea together, it has 1.2 billion together. So considering China super big population, and considering China per capita GDP is increasing steadily, I think that make China a very large single market in the world, the largest single market in the world. I will explain in the next slide. So China now is the world's largest manufacturer and also exporter of schools or essential goods, including 90% of refined rare earth mineral, 80% of solar panel, 50% of computer, and 45% of the electric vehicle. The electric vehicle right now in China is developing very fast. If you walk around on the street in Beijing, you will see that they are booming. So many new Chinese producers, they are compete with the international company. The BYD, right, is the most prominent one, and other several new country, new company they are following. The design is very you know, uh, advanced. So very popular. The design is popular, and the car, the electricity capacity uh, is also good, and it can sustain from 3 to 400 kilometer to 7 to 800 kilometer by just one charge of the electricity. This will unleash a wave of consumer spending that will make China not only the most companies prefer located for production, but also the largest consumer market. Look at the graph here. That is annual real GDP growth rate of the global economy, excluding China. You can see that before the COVID-19 pandemics, the global economic growth rate is slowing down because China economy rely on the exportation. That means wholly rely on exportation as we did in the last 3 decades cannot drive China economy grow fast enough. So to combine domestic market with the international market is the best solution to sustain China economic growth and also to help China to surpass the so-called middle income trap. Then I will explain why we see that China is the single largest ultra mega market. There's a news from the Chinese government from the State Council. You can read the date is April 12th of this year. The title is China strive to establish a unified domestic market. China has a 1.4 billion population. That makes China the single largest ultra mega market in the world. As I explained, China population is about the population of the developed economy combined. So the single largest ultra mega market means that China has a unified law. We have unified customs, just like the EU 27 country. We have the unified commercial code, and also we have a unified language. That makes China very different from India. India population is big, but India has dozens of local languages and different state. India is a federal country. Different state has a different customer rules, has different commercial code that make India is not a de facto unified market, but China is unified. The traditional mindset is that China's manufacturing competitiveness come from its labor force. China has a big population, so the manufacturing cost particularly of the human capital is low. But however, such kind of argument neglect the size of the market or neglect the size of the country. The size matters in global economical competition. If China can't be self-sufficient in a certain product, and has to import, it will immediately create a market for 20% of the world population. I think the logic of the microchips competition between China and the US is China believe that our market is big enough, that our industry is resilient enough that we can invest a lot of money, invest a lot of human capital, and to get some breakthrough in the semiconductor industry, and to produce the advanced microchips that are much needed right now for the economical growth. The fifth generation communication or the 5G technology and also AI technology. Right now, the main focus of China technology innovation. So also the Internet of the things, and all those things rely on the microchips. So microchips are very, very important, crucial for China's future economic growth. But in the meanwhile, the U.S., the Biden administration just passed microchips and science act, which is to decoupling the link between China and the U.S. microchip or semiconductor industry, and try to put some sanction on China and to impede China's microchip industry innovation. But however, China believe that we have a very strong government and we have a very strong consensus, and also we have a large market for the microchip. So we will endeavor to make great breakthrough in the microchips industry. So the total population on a high income country is about 1.2 billion, just like I have explained. So the super skill or the super size of China market will cut the R&D cost, and also the logistic cost. China, the online commerce is booming in last decade. Since the outbreak of the COVID-19, because China has very tough policy, or we call that the zero tolerance policy for the COVID-19. So in this year, I stay, indoors for not indoor in my in the area I lived. So for almost 2 months, and I cannot go to the university because there's some cases or the pandemics. So we use the internet for shopping to buy almost everything. It's very convenient, and also in China, you can order food online. The courier, they can send the food to your home. It's very work very well in the COVID-19 pandemic era time. And also it will cut the labor cost as well. So Chinese top economists believe that effective government will catalyze effect the market. So the government planning is very important. The micro planning. China is a market economy, but the government play a role in guiding the economy. So China influence to the global supply chain is bigger than a high country combined. That is a landscape for the future. The timeline of China development policy adjustment is you can see the China in 1978. China put forward the reform and opening up policy. That is by Chinese Premier Deng Xiaoping, right? He after that, a great international security strategy was adopted. That means China will import a lot of raw material and parts. In the meanwhile, China will export some manufacturing goods, commodities. So China economy integrating with the international economy. In this way, we can earn the US dollar, and use the US dollar. We can invest, and we can get people, make people rich. We can develop our infrastructure. So this is a policy adopted in 1978, since the right beginning of China economical opening up. I think the second uh, step is a China accession to the WTO. That is a 2001. After more than 10 years negotiation, and China finally accepted as a member of the WTO. So from that point on, China fully embedded into global economy and the supply chain. If you looking back the trajectory of China-Latin America relation, we will notice that the takeoff of China-US China-Latin America trade is from 2001. That's because China joined the WTO. And then followed by the global financial crisis in 2008 and to 2009. The global financial crisis make China realize to wholly or entirely rely on their international market is not reliable. So the crisis exposed the vulnerability of their export-led model, and China rebalanced its economy. So because the downturn, the sluggish global economy in 2009, and China has a lot of surplus commodity that cannot be exported. So as an alternative, Chinese government decided to give some subsidies to those commodity, particularly the home appliance, and to guide those home appliance to the rural area, to the west part of China. So the rural area, west part of China, and they can buy those home appliance. On one hand, they can improve the life quality, the living quality. On the other hand, it can, consume this commodity, and the factory can come back to work, and the worker can come back to work. And then it's Trump administration's trade war and technology decoupling with China from 2017 to 2020. China accelerate its Made in China 2025 industrial strategy. That means China will be a leading country in 10 frontier technology, including the semiconductor, bio pharmaceutical, and also high end machine aero technology, such as that. So 10 area that China will be a leading country in the world. However, the US, they are quite worried about China's Made in China 2025 strategy, and they saw that China will dominate 10 sectors of their technology and push the US out. This caused a rebound of the US containment policy toward China. So the COVID-19, and then the outbreak of the COVID-19 2020, and also the Biden administration coming into power. So China dual circulation strategy officially availed in 2000 last year, 2021. So that is to aim to mitigate the volatility of the global market. Look at it. This is a graphic here. This graphic you can find in the Graham Allison, who is a professor from Harvard University, and he produced a very good report this year. That is China-US as a great rivalry. You can see that in the year 2000, that China is the largest trade partner to only a handful of countries in Asia and Africa. But by the year 2020, and China right now become the largest trading partner of more than 130 countries in the world. So this is a big forward, a big step forward. So China already the largest trading economy in the world. So China very much rely on the international market. There's no way for China to close it at all for the global trade because you see that the picture. You see that China integrating in the supply chain with the global economy. This is another graphic that show country who are connected to their primary trading partner. This data show that in 1990, that is 30 years ago, you can see right now the biggest song is United States, and follow the US. You can see also Japan, and on this and on the right hand, you can see Germany and France and many other UK, USSI. So China is right here. China is just a smaller country. But by 2020, you can see another landscape in Europe, Germany there, France there, Italy there. But the other side, you can see that China become the center, or the epicenter or the trading network. So the United States, however, is smaller than China in terms of the number of the top trading partner. This is a great change in last 30 years. I think that because China economy is open, that because China is a member of the WTO, and also because China economy goes global. So there's no going back. And then I want to focus on the China-US strategic competition. As the US media point out, that the coming decade is a decisive decade. The US Secretary of State Blinken also mentioned the decisive decade for when he defined China-US relationship. So according to Washington, China is the dominant threat, not just to the US, but to the world. That's how the US, view China. They see China is a will sabotage the international order based on the Western country, and China will create a new order, which is not true. And China is want to improve or reform the order together with the developing country together, because the order is decided by those developing economy. And sorry. According to the Biden administration, China is the only country with an economic, diplomatic, military, and technological power to seriously challenge the stable and open international system. So they view China as a rivalry, as an enemy, not as partner, not as a friend. You can see the recent the speaker of the House of the United States, Nancy Pelosi. She visited Taiwan Strait, caused a lot of tension, and China unveiled the massive military exercise around the Taiwan Island. So they caused a lot of tension. The U.S. disobey or violate the rules that stated in the China-U.S. Three communique since China-United States established their diplomatic relation in 1970s. So China also launched AIB. AIB is a Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank in 2014 because China bailed out the U.S. in the 2008-2009 global financial crisis, and China at that time the U.S. agreed to expand China stakes in the IMF. However, the U.S. Didn't keep its promise, so China had to set up another financial architecture in order to better, integrated with the world, and also better implement, China's influence. So the AIB right now has 103 members, include all the G7 country except the US and Japan. That's only two countries from the G7 group that have not joined the AIB. In 2013, the BRI has become the biggest diplomatic initiative in the world in the past 2 decades. So right now, 21 Latin America country has signed MOU. Most recent one is Argentina. In June 2021, Biden and partners launched a rival to BRI called the B3W initiative that they want to compete with China in the infrastructure sector. First, I think this the B3W initiative is not feasible because they didn't provide a solid funding, and also the U.S. government right now, they are short of money. They have a problem with the federal debt. U.S. debt is has reached 30 trillion US dollar right now, and the federal government annual revenue is about 4 trillion US dollar. So considering they need to pay the interest, there will be very few left for the US to fund a massive infrastructure project overseas. Right now, China has 276 embassies, consulate, and other posts ahead of the US. The US number is 273. So in terms of the size of the diplomat, China right now is bigger than the United States. That shows a gesture of China to embrace with the world. Also, there's a graphic here. You can see that China increased the membership in the international organization because global governance is based on the international organizations. International organizations are the most important platform for global governance. China, since 2019, China become the second largest contributor to the United Nations. And right now, China is the largest contributor to the United Nations peacekeeping project. And also China is a top contributor to the WHO and many other international organizations. That show that China is much more accepted than the international community compared with a decade ago. And also, China although it's the largest industry entity, but China import a lot of food and energy. In terms of oil, 70% of China consumption oil is imported, and also around more than 50% of natural gas also imported, and also China import coal. From Latin America, we import a lot of beef, soybean, iron ore, copper ore, and also lithium. Chile, Argentina, and also Bolivia. There are three countries produce a lot of lithium, and China import a lot as well. China became the world's largest manufacturer in 2010 and account for 20% of global manufacturing value added in 2019. That is mean in last 10 from 2010 to 2019, China increased its shares by 20%. In the meanwhile, the U.S. share dropped from 26 to 18. So in medium high research and development intensive industry, China has overtaken the U.S. Its shares of global value-added output increasing from 7% in 2003 and to 26% by 2018. In the meanwhile, the world witnessed a drop of the U.S. from 25% to 22. Look at the graphic here. You can see this is the number of global corporations in the Fortune 500. That's the most remarkable company in the world. So in 2000, in the year 2000 or 2001, the year China joined the WTO, there's only around 10 companies, a little bit more than 10 companies are listed in the Fortune 500. However, you can see after economical global financial crisis in 2009, you can see the curve just coming up, steadily, sharply. And last year, China, there's 124 Chinese company listed in the Fortune 500. Please be noted that Taiwan company are not included in this number. Meanwhile, the U.S. company in the Fortune top 500 dropped to 121. So this is the first time. China has a lot of state-owned enterprises, so-called SOE, either affiliated with the central government or affiliated with the local government. But in the meanwhile, the private firms are also very active in China. Private firms account for 60% of China GDP growth, or 70% of China innovation, 80% of urban employment, and 90% of the job growth. You can see that private firm make a lot of contribution to China economic growth. And then I move on the China-Latin America relation. There are several landmarks can be noticed in China-Latin America policy. I think the first one is a China white paper on Latin America. It's called the China-Latin America policy. This policy issued in November 2008. And in 2014, China come out with a cooperation framework, China-Latin America cooperation framework, with pinpoint the 1+3+6. That means 1 central plan and 3 engine. That is a trade, investment, and also infrastructure cooperation. Also pinpoint 6 key fields for cooperation. In 2015, the China CELAC forum was established. This become a mechanism for China, Latin America country collective cooperation. And also the cooperation plan was first put forward, and also the Beijing Declaration was released. China Select Forum become mechanism for stirring the China-Latin America relation in general. And in 2016, China's second white paper on Latin America was issued. This paper has a lot of substantial improve compared with the former one. So 8 years later, that China gradually produce a deeper understanding on the region, and China reaffirm its commitment that China will be an economical partner with Latin America, that China have no military or security intention in Latin America. So China, Latin America can be a development partner. So last year, President Xi Jinping addressed to the third China Select ministerial meeting via the video message because of COVID-19. President Xi cannot attend. So the meeting have announced that a cooperation plan, ambitious cooperation plan covering politics, security, trade, investment, finance, infrastructure, energy resources, industry, agriculture, science, and also people-to-people exchange. You can see that China has a all-around or comprehensive plan with engaging with the Latin America countries. In terms of the China-US strategic competition, I think Latin America's weight has been lifted. Because China tension with the US, and China need a lot of diplomatic support, such as Taiwan issue. After Nancy Pelosi visit Taiwan, there are more than 180 countries said that they insist the one China policy, and they criticize Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. And Latin America, in this arena, they are very important for China in a United Nations, in a global arena. Secondly, I think China need a lot of raw material, oil, gas, minerals, and food stuff. I think they are very, very important for China, sustain China economical growth. If China want to be a high-income country, China need to continue to export a high value-added commodity to the world. So Latin America will continue be important to provide those commodities to China. A recent case is the lithium. The lithium is a raw material, a mineral very important to produce the battery for the electricity car, electric car. So they're very important. There are several leading Chinese companies. They have already have some merger acquisition in Latin American country, Bolivia, Argentina, and also Chile in particular. So this kind of cooperation make Latin America very, very important for China. And China redefined its Latin America policy. There you can see there are quite a number, 21 Latin America countries joined the Belt and Road Initiative. China put Latin America as a natural extension of China's BRI. So the guiding principle for China to engage with Latin America is to engage multilaterally where China can, and bilaterally where China must. So there's a equally important, so collectively or multilaterally or bilaterally, they are equally important. The new approach is put more emphasis on the multilateralism embodied in the China CELAC framework, while maintaining the bilateral cooperation with the individual country in the region. I heard from some governmental friends, they said that there's a possibility to upgrade the China Select Forum from ministerial meeting to head of state meeting. So if the mechanism is upgraded, it will carry more weight for both China and Latin America. And also China put forward their shared destiny to the Latin America. So infrastructure, innovation, productivity, and competitiveness are the main focus for China-Latin America cooperation. In general, although Latin America country has been hit hard by the COVID-19, the economy is slowing down, and also their high mortality rate in Latin America. People's living and working are heavily, badly impacted by the pandemic. But if you look at the China-Latin America relation, you will notice that the trade between the two sides has already reached the historical, best. And also, right now, 8 countries in Latin America recognize, only 8 countries recognize Taiwan. And China successfully switched quite a few countries' diplomatic tie from Taiwan and to mainland China. I think Costa Rica is also witnessed this kind of diplomatic warsaw, right? So China used the China Select mechanism as a tool for political consultation with the region, and also China can engage with those Caribbean countries like Nicaragua, right? Most recently, the established diplomatic tie with China, and also use the China Select Forum as a platform for financial, economical cooperation with the region. So if you look at the economical data, you can see there's a very booming economical tie. China is a large country, but China is short of natural resources. In last year, China-Latin America trade reached more than 450 billion US dollar. That is a year-to-year, suggesting a year-to-year increase at least 35% in last decade. So this is really, really fast. In 2020, China direct investment in Latin America industry was about 16 billion US dollar. This is from January to August of last year. If you look at the data, China is below the United States. But if you're looking at the pace, the speed, I mean, China acceleration speed, and China is really fast. So by mid-2020, China Ministry of Commerce state that in total, Latin America and Caribbean countries have invested and established 3,400, more than 3,400 enterprises in China. That means the relation is mutual beneficial. A lot of Latin America entrepreneurs, they come China for business. And also you can look at this graphic is from Atlantic Council, and you can see the changing landscape of the country that whose largest trade partner is China. So gradually, most of the Latin American country largest trading partner is China. And also Latin America trade benefit from China-US trade war because in Donald Trump era, China-US, Donald Trump imposed trade war on China, increased the tariff. So China decreased the import of some commodity, agricultural commodity like the soybean. So country like Brazil or Argentina, so they benefit from the soybean import industry. In the meanwhile, China is increasing the importation a lot of food stuff, like shrimp from Ecuador. I bought many times in Beijing. The very good shrimp. So the shrimp, the labeled on it is that said it imported from Ecuador. It's a very tasty. And also we import a lot of like the avocado cargo from Mexico, and also the cherry from Chile. Every year's Chinese New Year's, the cherries from Chile is very popular in China, and the price is expensive, I have to say, but it's always running out of the market because in a spring festival, people use that for as a gift to others. So it's a very popular. It normally auto stock very quickly. Because of steady trade with China amid such a steep economical decline, Latin America merchandise trade flow with China grew to the record high level of GDP. You can see that the light blue line is the China export to Latin America. That is a percentage of the GDP, right? You can see that. So to the Latin America GDP percentage, right? You can see the dark blue line is Latin America export to China. You can see as China economy does matter to Latin America's exportation, or it does matter to Latin America economical growth. This table I got from Boston universities. This is it's a statistical survey about which commodity China bought from Latin America and what are the percentage shares in the total exportation and where this come from. You can see Brazil, Argentina, Venezuela, and also Colombia, Chile, Peru. They are the main trade partner of China. This is another graphic from the Boston University. You can see the China's FDI, GFDI, that means green, green FDI, green in Latin American fast sector. You can see a lot of investment goes to the infrastructure extraction and manufacturing sector. That make China a very reliable capital provider to Latin America country. In the backdrop of COVID-19, China also provide a lot of aid to Latin America country. This is a new phenomenon because normally China provides a lot of aid to Africa because Africa per capita GDP they are much lower than Latin America, but in the context of the COVID-19, China provide a lot of test kit, ventilator, and also mask and other chemical medical equipment to Latin America in general. It's not only from the China central government, but also from China's provincial and local government, and also from Chinese company like Huawei. So Huawei is a key contributor. Huawei, the company, makes some high-profile donation or advanced technology to help combat the virus. So this is I think, a very solid friendship. There's a saying, Chinese saying, of a friend in need is a friend indeed. So China view Latin America as a friend. So China is willing to help. And also development finance. This is another thing that's very important. You know, China has the largest foreign reserve. We have more than 3 trillion US dollar. That because China has a big trade surplus with the US in general. And also China has the highest saving rate. Both the country and also the people saving rate, because Chinese people are conservative. You know, the economy taking off. This is a story only after 1980. So before 1980, our economy is not good. So people are somehow conservative, and they save money for their future. They save money for their children. They save money for their uncertainties. This is very different from any part of the world, not like the US. The saving rate of China is super high. That makes China has a lot of capital. In the meanwhile, we have a very important financial instrument that is China Development Bank. China Development Bank together with the China Exim Bank, which means the import back to China. I think these two entities, they are very important financial tool for China to engage with Latin America, particularly for the infrastructure investment finance. So development finance is loans or grant from government, official government, aid agency, and also intergovernmental organization intended to promote economical development and welfare of developing country. China is the largest provider of development finance. The reason behind that is that China is patient. US government, they change every 4 years. Right now it's Biden administration. Who knows who will be the next president of the United States? You never know. So Biden's policy is very different from Trump. Trump is very different from Obama. But in China, there's a very steady trajectory of China's policies. It's very predictable. For example, President Xi Jinping put forward the 100 years, strategy. That means the first 100 years, last year, the 100 year for celebration anniversary for the establishing of the Communist Party. The Communist Party was established in 1921. So last year is the 100-year anniversary, and China claimed that we have fulfilled a milestone or in turning into a relatively well-off society. And the next 100 years is the founding of this country. This country founded in 1949. So by 1949, China will become a modernized socialist country. So this is China China is sufficient. China efficient capital is characterized by a long-term horizon and greater risk tolerance, means investors intend to stay with the investment through good time and bad time in hope of the future profit. China provides a lot of development finance to Latin American country. Here's the list of the country. This is very important for the infrastructure cooperation. In the meanwhile, those development finance has no condition attached, so it's really mutual beneficial. And last year, the year before last year, because the downturn of the Latin American economy, so China decided to renegotiate the existing debt with the Latin America country. So last year, China didn't offer loans finance to Latin America country, but instead China extend the loan, the period of the loan, in order to help those Latin America country to go through the tough time. And also the China-US rivalry. You can see the different opinion. One opinion is in the US is China economy will, seriously or badly impacted by the US decoupling policy. But there are other evidence to show. You can see there's American top CEO are all betting on China. You can see Elon Musk, his company Tesla really popular in China. He established a Shanghai company. Last year produced more than 1 million cars, EV, electricity cars in China. So this is really popular. And he said, Elon Musk said, China in the long run will be Tesla's biggest market, both where we make the most numbers of vehicles and where we have the most number of customers. And also Tim Cook, CEO Apple, and BlackRock, Larry Fink, and Bridgewater, Ray Dalio, is a big investor, and also JP Morgan and Starbucks. Every 12 hours, there's a new Starbucks open its doors in China. Every 12 hours. That means every day there are 2 stores, chain stores, coming to business. So you can see those CEOs, I think they are very optimistic for China's future. It's very likely that coming decade, let's say coming 5 years, China annual growth maybe average there from 4 to 6%. I think 5% is reasonable. In the meanwhile, the U.S., according to the U.S. economist forecast, in the coming decade, the average economic GDP growth rate of the U.S. is a 1.8%. That means Chinese growth rate, GDP growth rate will double the U.S. growth rate. That makes China surpass the U.S. economical size become possible. Of course, China has challenges such as the demographic problem. We have a aging society, aging group. In the coming decade, there's more aging people. They're retired. In China, retire age is 60. So right now we have a 260 million people. Their age are over 60. In the coming decade, this number will expand very fast. And also we have the debt issue. Both the central government and the local government, and also the environment issue. China unveiled ambitious carbon peak and a carbon zero, commitment. China will reach carbon zero in 2060. That means China energy structure will substantially being reshaped from fossil fuel to renewable clean energy. That will have some impact on China economic development as well. However, the biggest risk comes from geopolitical tension, especially the worsening U.S.-China relation, such as Taiwan issue, South China Sea issue. Those water, I think, are very has very high geopolitical risk. Sorry. The UBS estimate that decoupling in the technology sector alone could lower China growth by as much as 0.5 percentage per year. Those are some negative forecast of China economic growth. China, US, Latin America. So changing triangle in Latin America favor. This is my opinion, personal opinion. And also, it's very interesting that 1 month ago we have a Chinese Latin America scholar. We have a online meeting because of the pandemic. So online is more convenient. I think most of I share this opinion that Latin America should keep a balance between China and the US. That means not side with any side, any country, but to keep a balanced relation. That's very important. Most of the scholar, I think there's among more than 20 scholar in China. Latin American studies is not a big community, so 20 scholar, many of them are leading scholar. So they all agree that most of them, they agree that Latin America will benefit from China-US strategic competition. The Biden government unveiled the growth in the America Initiative, and also the B3W, America Partnership for Economic Prosperity, and also the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment. I think those initiative strategy, some of them are specifically designed for Latin America, others for developing country. More or less, Latin America will benefit from those initiatives. On the Chinese side, China has the BRI. BRI will continue without any doubt. And also China, President Xi Jinping put forward China Global Development Initiative, which emphasize China will develop together with the developing country. The US prioritize security, right? The securitization, everything. Securitization, trade, investment, microchip, FDI, right? So everything is securitized. But China thought development is a priority. The world is not safe. That's because imbalance of development. So we should play a role. And also 5G competition between China and US. I think Latin American country will benefit from the 5G, the 5th generation technology from Huawei and many others. So a healthy relationship with both of the largest commercial partner would be in Latin America best interest. China relation with the US is worsening, but China relation with Latin America is getting better. And there's a possibility because China presence in Latin America is increasing, so US pay more attention to Latin America. It's likely. So this is the logic. China trade with Latin America is bound to grow. This is a forecast from Atlantic Council. According to the forecast, by 2033, 35, and China Latin America trade is expected to surpass 700 billion US dollar. This is really a very good number. So considering the timing, I should finish now. This is another interesting graphic. This is China's biggest export. You can find Latin America here. So compared with the other part of the world, I think Latin America has a huge room to growth. Another map is China's biggest import. You can find China import a lot of things from Brazil, but from other Latin American countries not big enough. There also huge room to improve. So in conclusion, dual circulation, I think it's a Chinese choice and Latin America's opportunity. China will continue to be an open economy, and international circulation is equally important to the compared with the domestic circulation. Because of the change of the nature of China economy, right now China is already per capita GDP already surpassed 10,000 US dollar. In the meanwhile, the world economy is becoming sluggish, slowing down. So China have changed its strategy. The worst part is the U.S. tension with China. They pinpoint China as a rivalry. So the decoupling China in the supply chain and also in the frontier technology, they make China become, a little bit conservative about their it is a commodity consumption. In general, China will increase its presence in Latin America steadily and foster a mutual beneficial relationship. So my conclusion is dual circulation will bring a lot of benefit to Latin America because international circulation is very important, and also because Latin America is a very prosperous, it's a land of hope, and also because the U.S.-China triangular relation dynamic put Latin America in a favorable position. All right, I will stop here. Thank you so much for your patience, and I welcome your comments.